welcome to another episode of Reasonably Tactical. Sitting here with John, and been a good week. And today we're going to talk about mind over matter and that winning mentality that we talked about so many times. I remember growing up, I went to junior high in Beloit at Aldrich, and like the football and track coach. He's also a social studies teacher.
Wait a minute. You went to school in Beloit?
Oh yeah.
Really? And you turned out this good?
Yeah.
Just checking.
This bad. Yeah, I'm just good at covering it up. Yeah. But no, that was the motto was attitude is everything, and he implemented in all the athletes, both, track and field and also especially on the football field. And he had no qualms telling us when our attitude was poor, but, it just means so much. And like you said, it's kind of gone away, unfortunately. And what we mean by, the meaning of mind over matter is that ability to overcome challenges by focusing on that end state. And those challenges could be a physical challenge like you do in an event. It could be something personal that happens in your life. It could be just day-to-day stuff that happens at work or, just daily life. But how do you overcome those challenges? I think we constantly underestimate the power of the brain.
Agreed.
I know personally from my experiences in the military, like it's insane what the brain can do. Where you're like, oh my God, this is it. You're out for a couple days or different field problems where it's limited food and you're going 20 hours a day where it's like, how is my body still functioning? And your brain's telling it to keep going.
And we hear that with Olympic athletes too. Is that when they
yeah.
start getting in that part, and we talk about the cycle and how you get into a mindset that your mind kind of goes almost into autopilot and
Right.
it pushes you through. I see that all the time here when people are training.
Oh yeah, I remember any major training event. There were times, like, I have any idea what happened, but here I am at the end. You just kind of go in the zone. Yep. And it's funny you mentioned the athletes is we've seen where that mental kind of prowess has failed. And one big game I remember was it was early 2011, and it was the Bears and the Packers were playing the division title, like first time since like the 40s.
Yeah.
That it had happened, and shortly in the game, as always, things weren't going right for Jay Cutler, and he complains about this knee injury.
Yeah.
Yet the rest of the game, he's standing on the sidelines.
Right.
Like,
I remember that game very well.
oh yeah.
Because I had a lot of I didn't have, well, I'm not going to say to that, but yeah, I had some things riding on that game, yes.
Right. But I remember I was already stationed up in Virginia during that time period, and some other Bears fans, we all got together to watch the game, and we were just livid at him. First off, his performance, but then he stood there on the side of the field after a knee injury, and it's like, dude, you're playing the Packers in this big of a game. This is where, like, you need that, like, this is it. This is the Super Bowl right here, and
we called him Slutler the whole game because he was just a whore that game. I hate to say it. But.
Yeah, set the record multiple times in a game for giving it the ball to the other team.
I hate to be that ray of sunshine and say positive mental attitude, but there is honestly something to it to a degree, but it's also not having a victim mentality.
Right, and that's huge too. It's so easy to, and we've all done it at times, kind of downward spiral and the like, woe is me, like poor me. What am I ever going to do to fix this? Everything's helpless, but it's, like I said, everybody's had those moments. We've all downward spiraled, but it's like learning from those and like, okay, I'm not going to allow myself to do that. Like I'm gonna find that little silver lining, and I'm gonna focus on that to be able to push through.
But that's what's missing. Nobody does that anymore.
Right.
Nobody says, hey, you got to focus on the good in your life. They're like, no. You deserve to feel this way.
Right.
And it's just encouraged to feel like garbage. I don't understand that.
And that you're now owed something because something bad happened. And things happen during daily life, man. And like going through a divorce, it's whether you're married a year, whether you're married 20 years, like it's a traumatic experience. And, people will hit a low, but it's like, all right, I'm also starting a new life, and things will get better eventually.
And that's something I do want to ask you, as former law enforcement and everything like that too, with the divorce, when you used to hear that D word that would come over the radio that everyone cringes at, domestic.
Oh yeah. I'd say a lot of times people just need to stay away from each other. Like, stop interacting. You guys have been split up for how long? Like, why are you still contacting each other? Like, this is not healthy for anybody. And it's giving me a headache. Having to deal with you over and over again.
Well, I mean, and that's, the thing too, is that people just don't remember. We talked about this in the other episodes, maturity.
Yeah.
They don't know how to grow. They don't know how to move on. They don't know how to move forward.
Or just that courtesy to communicate. And if it's over, it's over, and move on. And yeah, it sucks. Like you said, that's one of those challenges. But it's all right. I will get past this in life. I will meet somebody new. I will have different experiences. Things will get better eventually. But we've also become this culture of we want things immediately.
Now with Tinder, you're swiping one way, swiping another way, and it's like, think about that. You're literally sifting through people.
Yeah.
Like you're paging through a catalog.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. We want instant results, and you got to work. Things take time. Anything worth having is worth working for. I think lastly, a big thing is, just in daily life, like we've created a culture where people don't understand things will go wrong. And we'll hear things we don't disagree with or we don't like, and that's okay.
Yeah.
We don't have to like everything. We don't have to agree with everything. But we got to understand that these things, we will be faced with this. And I think that leads to like where we've gone wrong as a culture. And it goes back to like the participation trophy issue, where it's from kindergarten on, even before then, it's everybody, you're getting recognized because you showed up.
It's not life.
Right. It's not reality. And obviously it's good to build confidence, but it's also good to show like there's room for improvement. It's okay to accept that you will fail at things sometimes.
Well, it sets people up for a failure by not letting them have a failure. It sets them up for a failure,
a much bigger failure later down the road. And it's, we talked about before when I used to coach football in North Carolina. One thing that we would do every Monday after our Saturday game, first thing we'd do after warm-ups is we'd all huddle up and we'd go around the circle. What could you have done better last Saturday? And this is with, middle school kids, 7th and 8th graders, where they had to look in the mirror, do that little quick internal selfie and what could I have done better on Saturday?
And more coaches need to do that too.
Right. Well, just parents need to do that. Yeah. Teachers need to do that of like, hey, you did a good job, but what could you have done better? And I still do that with my kids after any game. Like son might hit a home run and like, what could you have done better? Well, I was a little slow getting up when playing catcher and like little things that you can always work on to get better. Or, running the bases, I could have been a little more agile, and there's always room for improvement.
And it's great that you mentioned that because that's where I feel technology starts to play a role in becoming better athletes too, like recording what you're doing.
Yeah.
My brother is a cardiopulmonary specialist, and that's something huge that he and I have talked about. Having the ability to have a chart of somebody's personal heart rate, their respiration, things like that. They can then look back and say, well, where in the event did you fail? Did you realize, hey, you should have slowed down, sped up, etc.?
Right. Just simple video, because it's one thing, me as a personal trainer or me training people at the range to say, hey, you're doing this wrong, do this differently, versus me recording it and being like, look, this is what you're doing every time. And people are like, oh, I am doing that. Marty's not being a jerk. I am messing up.
Whoa. Let's not rule that out now. Come on.
More than likely, I'm being a jerk. Yeah, exactly.
More than likely you are. But you're right. You're a jerk that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
And, when you say that, I actually was doing that with the student I was working with the other day at the range. Same thing. Took some photos, showed him, and said, look, just stills on what your posture looks like. He saw that, and he said, oh, all I have to do is just... I'm like,
just simple little fixes. And it's, that picture's worth 1,000 words thing is you can say it all day, but there's still that, psychological, I know what I'm doing, and it's when they see it, then it's like, oh, okay, my bad. You were right. I was wrong. And it's not just with instilling in people that there's always room for improvement, but I think we've gone a step too far where we've made this like everybody's a hero, everybody's elite issue. It was Patton that said a hero is just simply a soldier that does his job. So it's like just go do your job, man. Don't try to carry that title.
And that's it exactly. Everyone, you're right, wants to be the hero, and we see that in the most mundane things too. But then you have somebody that's not necessarily trying to be a hero, but just loves what they do, and then they become heroic, being quintessentially themselves.
Exactly. And if you just create that type of like ethos or work ethic within an organization, in any field of work, where it's like, come and do your job, enjoy doing your job, like you said, and then you get good at it, and then you start excelling, and then that's where you achieve that like heroic type status. you know, I'm owed this respect. And it's like, none of us are owed anything.
Well, it's like the three letters that we see now circulating around the web the last few years, SME, subject matter expert.
Yeah.
And you ask yourself, who the hell are these experts and who made them an expert? They just kind of became self-declared because they have X amount of followers online and they get a bunch of people that follow them.
So like in my line of work, for my real job, there is such thing as a subject matter expert.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a difference there because that's legitimate. That's
Right.
not somebody that self-proclaimed themselves.
We're the
They
ones
earned
that
it.
label these employees, you know, these contractors as subject matter experts in their particular field versus me just saying SME in this.
You just explained to people what the difference between a real subject matter expert is and somebody that's self-proclaimed, that they earned
Right.
that title from others who are just as good, if not better.
And
than
they also have the years of experience, the years of training where they've put in all that work to achieve that level, not just, I went to this course, now I'm a subject matter expert. It's like, bless your heart, you're just starting off, you know, in your journey. You could, if you stick with it, you'll achieve that. You know, just like with any type of fighting system.
Yeah,
You know,
agreed.
like you're not going to walk in day one and be like, boom, I'm black belt, ready to crush this. Like it takes years.
Do you want to know
get
in
that.
my years of training or in teaching that how many times I saw that?
Oh, I can only imagine. I can only imagine.
And the problem is too, like with Krav, it's the mentality that people have that don't actually understand the fighting system. That they just think, oh well, it's just karate with cursing or something like that. I just got to be big and bad, and it leads us to something else too. And I'm glad that you kind of segued into this inadvertently. We talk about the difference between somebody that fights with aggression and fights with anger. And
Right.
I've discussed this at length with people and explained that I don't like seeing people fight angry. I like to see them fight with rising to the occasion, bringing
Right.
the brain into the
They
battle.
can flip that switch. Yeah.
Yes. And there's a huge difference between fighting angry and fighting aggressive. And it pisses me off when I see instructors say, oh, you got to get angry. I'm like, no.
We don't want that. Yeah, because then the emotions take over, the brain stops working, and that's when you lose control and people do ridiculous things. And it's, you know, that ties into it, and same with everything else we talk about, is this is all fixable.
Yeah.
You know, like this is all easy fix stuff, and we have to focus on what we need to work on, what can be improved, and not just on our successes. That was one thing I really liked being in the Army is quarterly counselings, because we would talk about, hey man, these are the 3 things that I want you to work on, and it'd be a conversation. Like, you know, what are your goals? You know, everything, and you kind of build on that, and like, all right, these are the 3 things that we need to work on. And then, you know, next quarter it'd be like, hey, good job, you achieved that, or hey, we still got to fine tune this, but you know, we're tracking it, or hey, you got worse than this. We really got to, you know, start hammering down on it.
And that's good because that they recognize there's a room for positive affirmation, but there's also constructive criticism.
Right.
And that's what I think a lot of people.
Oh, and we
miss.
lost that. We lost what constructive criticism means, because anything that isn't, John, you're the greatest ever. Oh my God, you're the best at wearing black T-shirts ever. You know,
But that's true.
It's true, it is. But anything outside of that is a personal attack.
Right.
You know, it's, you know, if somebody says, hey, that color really isn't for you. Oh, what do you mean that? That's, you know, and it's like, no, dude, they're trying to help you out, you know?
Right. I guess to wrap things up with your knowledge on all of this, and you really do have knowledge, and I know you said, oh, don't call me an SME, but you kind of are because you've lived this particular life of having that mentality. So where can people get better at this? How can they get better if they've never been exposed to this in the first place?
Well, it goes back to the mind thing of like being able to sit and think about what can I do to be better today. And that goes all the way back to our initial episode of that constant improvement. We're never proficient at everything. You know, even when we get to the point where we're TFA trained, like there's other aspects we can still work on. So like, all right, I can keyhole from 25 meters with my pistol all day. Well, all right, can you do that after running? Oh, why would I run? All right, we need to get you in the gym and start working on cardio stuff. And you know, like there's always room for improvement, and it'll just make you all around better. And I just use shooting for that, but it could be anything. You know, your daily life at home with your family, your, you know, interactions going to school, whether, you know, local or at college, you know, at work. There's always little things you can do. What can you do to be a better person? And I was talking with his dad at my daughter's fight club the other night, and the key to creating successful adults is letting kids learn what it feels like to fail.
Yeah.
Not set them up for failure, but it's, you are going to have times where you're not number one. That's okay, but we should instill that, like, okay, we learned what you need to work on. Let's make you better. So next time, and even if you're not first place that next time, well, you got this much better.
Agreed.
And that's where you're still like, there's still room to improve, but look how much you did improve from the last time. So you're giving positive reinforcement, but also striving, instilling.
Right, and that's the thing that's nice about having the levels or the belt systems in any type of combat sport.
Gives you that recognition.
It gives you recognition, but it also gives you something to aim for.
Right, exactly. That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
And I get hit up all the time by people asking, like, well, I was thinking of enlisting and I want to go into a special operations thing, and I always ask, what is it you're looking to do? Because then, hey, you want to be a Green Beret, you want to be a Ranger, you want to be a SEAL, whatever, and kind of guide them towards that. But it makes me think of, like, the big secret behind passing these selections and these tryouts. And it's definitely mind over matter, because I've never been the biggest, fastest, strongest person at any of these. And I went through 4 total, passed them all for different organizations I was with. And it's a mind over matter thing, because we can take anybody and put them in front of a personal trainer, and 6 months they'll be a stud.
Yeah.
Like we can make you stronger.
Except
faster.
Zuckerberg. I don't think he's got a chance against Elon. Sorry. Just
Yeah,
throwing
that's
it
a whole
out
nother.
there.
Yeah, but yeah, it would be great to see him stomped. But that's a big thing is mental toughness is what's important, and going to assessment and selection, it's designed to take people that are already established in their career. So you already had established operators. I went through when I was 10 years in, and you're not given any praise, any feedback at all. And for some people, this goes back to that culture of being told they're the greatest ever. You see them implode,
That
man.
actually seems a little disturbing, but that's the intention.
Right, that's the intent.
Yeah.
Is this, you don't know how you're doing, because when you're working in small teams or by yourself, you don't have that. Either the mission's successful or it fails, and that's on you. Nobody is going to be telling you, like, yeah, that's the right decision, or hey, you're moving fast enough, or hey, you can slow down a little bit. Like, it's completely on you to plan it and do everything. And then not only that, no feedback, but you're put in positions and situations that are meant to fail. There is no right answer. So even if you take your 10 minutes they give you to come up with the best plan ever, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And once again, they're looking at, how do you bounce back? How do you deal with that failure? Because some people will lose their minds on, well, this isn't fair, this is against the rules, this isn't how it's done, and just implode, versus being like, all right, yeah, you take it on the chin and like, all right, I'll fix that, and bounce back, and then go to the next event and give 100%. And that's what they're really watching, what you do
Right.
that next event. Did you just fold, or did you go and still give 100%, showing that you bounce back? And that's a big secret, is that's what they're looking for all these things. Like, you don't have to be the biggest, fastest, strongest, smartest, as long as you have that mentality to keep going. And the best advice I ever had was, before I went to ANS in 2010, was go until you think you're going to die, and then slow down a little bit. That's literally what
We used to
mentor
say that in
mind told me.
cartooning, is that you go right where the engine blows and it's one notch back.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You're perfect.
Exactly. Like, go until you think you're going to die, and just slow down a little bit.
Wow.
But that's what kept you going.
Yeah.
And during those assessments, during long field problems, during real world missions, where it's like you just feel your body draining, and it's like, got to keep going. And it's it's kind of cliche to say for the people to left or right of you. Yeah, that's part of it. But it's also like, you kind of change your expectation of like, all right, I'm not focused on a week from now when I get out of here. I'm focusing on just making it to the end of the day. And then when you make it to the end of the day and you get to kick your feet up, you're like, all right, made it. That didn't die today.
Right. Yeah. And that right there, you said it. The last line of that, I didn't die today.
Oh, yeah.
That is really what it boils down to, and what keeps these guys moving. And I'm sure it's what kept you moving on missions too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I'll never forget, Drew Dix, an old mentor of mine, Medal of Honor recipient. He would just say, nothing's as bad as it seems. That was one of his statements he used to always say, and it never really is. We, once again, the mind will dwell on things and make it seem like things are way worse, but in reality, nobody's bleeding, nobody's dying, things are okay, and it'll get better.
I'm glad you say that too, because as you know, I'm involved in a lot of different non-for-profit organizations, try to help out around the community and things. And that's exactly it. They all treat everything as if, oh my God, this event or this thing is so catastrophic if it doesn't go right, when really we're a speck in the cosmic, galaxy.
Yeah, guess what? The world's going to keep turning.
Yeah.
Like none of us are that important that the world is going to come to a screeching halt. So it's like, take a deep breath, realize this isn't as bad as it seems. I mean, some of the organizations I'm involved with, everything is the end of the world, and people hair on fire, and it's like, dude, this don't matter. We're pole vaulting over mouse turds right now. This really doesn't matter.
I'm sorry, pole vaulting over mouse turds.
Boss.
I love that term. Oh my God, we're still using that now.
Old Colonel Foster used to tell me that all the time. Like, Marty, I think people are pole vaulting over mouse turds on this one, and I just be like, man, that's amazing. So, yeah.
I think on that one, I think we could end it on it. That is great. Marty, take us home, brother.
Well, just end of the day, we all need to be mentally tougher. Nothing's as bad as it seems. Things will always get better. Take that deep breath, focus on the end state, and push through. Have a good one.